Hello guys and welcome back to a new episode of Yaps and Yaps, the second upload of the year. We're staying consistent so far. Let's keep going. We've got some good plans coming up for this series. But today our topic is McLaren Formula 1 team. So I just thought we'd have a little look into them and who they are. I mean, if you're watching this you probably know who McLaren are. But we want to have a bit of a nose into them, I guess, so that's what we're doing. So McLaren Racing was founded in 1963 by New Zealand racing driver Bruce McLaren. Obviously we can see where the name came from. And at the time he was actually a F1 driver for the work team Cooper, and he won 3 races with them across his career, like 3 races for works team Cooper. However, they didn't actually become a Formula 1 team until 1966, which is when their first entry into a Grand Prix was. So throughout their 69 years in Formula 1, did just have to do the math there, they have won 13 driver championships and 10 constructors, with the first being in 1974. Obviously most recent being 2025. So within their 13 World Driver Championships there's been 8 different drivers to win one. Emerson Fittipaldi being the first. Comes along James Hunt, obviously very famously winning it. Niki Lauda, Prost and Senna, with their rivalry as well. Mika Hakkinen, Lewis Hamilton in 2008, and most recently Lando Norris in 2025, where he fought against Oscar Piastri and Max Verstappen to win the title in the last race in Abu Dhabi. Probably could have been one before, but we know what McLaren are like nowadays. It's not to say they've always been like this, but obviously we know last year in 2025, and obviously a bit before in 2024, team orders have become quite prominent within the team and something that McLaren are kind of known for, like papaya rules. So I say papaya rules, like obviously you're going to think of McLaren, but you say team orders and at the moment you think, oh, McLaren. Like, even though you could think of another team, but people go to McLaren because you call team orders for your driver that was leading their world championship to give the place back to another one, and you say fair racing, but then the racing's not fair. Maybe it's not. FIA deemed it fair, I guess, so take all we can get. Yeah, obviously very impressive. Also, like the drivers that have won them, all very iconic names in motorsport. Like Hunt and Lauda, obviously rivals, not racing for McLaren when they were rivals, but still rivals. Prost and Senna, another set of rivals. They were rivals while racing for McLaren. Teammate rivalry. It's another point in McLaren's book, something else they're known for. And then Mika Hakkinen, Flying Finn. Just known, Also, Lewis Hamilton is a household name. And then Lando Norris now. And he's been at the team for 7 years, or is he going into his 8th year? Yeah, so going to his 8th year with the team. Well, with the Formula 1 team. He's obviously been with the team longer. Who knows, maybe we'll see another McLaren champion. Maybe we'll see an Oscar Piastri champion. Maybe we'll see a Mercedes champion. Also, you can, if you want to think of something, you want to think of McLaren, I'd say teammate rivalries. Prost and Senna. Everyone knows. Like, if you are a Formula 1 fan and someone says the words Prost and Senna, you know they're on about the rivals. The fact they became friends afterwards. But when they were for McLaren, they were rivals. They just wanted to beat each other. Their press conferences were insane. Like, just week in and week out, they were like, I want to beat my teammate. I want to be the winning driver in our team. Which shows that your teammate is your first enemy. Well, it was for them. But yeah, their rivalry was so tense. And then one of them left the team, and all of a sudden they were okay. Or one left the sport. I can't even remember when they became okay. It was either when... No, because Prost went to Williams, and then Prost left Williams, and Senna took his seat because Prost recommended him. So, like, maybe it's just McLaren's the issue here. Because they're okay once they get out of McLaren. No, let's not call the Formula 1 team an issue. It is a high intensity sport. And obviously our most recent teammate rivalry at McLaren is Piastri and Norris, which I guess everyone's trying to turn into a thing like comparing them to like Prost and Senna, Rosberg and Hamilton, when they're not. They're not at that point. Not at the moment. Maybe 2026 will spice it up a bit, and they will, but they're rivals, but they're not intense rivals. It's more just them both getting screwed over by the team orders, really. Hungary 2024, when we first saw them, that's not to say they weren't being used before. This is the first time they were used for like, the race win, though, so you kind of remember that. You kind of want to remember that. Also, if you're like Zach Brown, you don't want to remember that. But if you're the fans, you kind of do. And then, when was the next set team orders? Can't really remember. I don't think there's any more in 2024. Obviously, there's like Monza and PS got ahead, and everyone's like, oh, you should call team orders, but they didn't, which is fine because, yeah, and everyone got a drop. But, and then you just go to 2025. Why are we calling team orders in the championship? That's what I don't get. But also, I think their rivalry is very pushed by the media. And because obviously the drivers, they come and they're like, yeah. You saw them in the press conference in Abu Dhabi, they were like, that's not rivalry. And then they're joking about Hungary 2024 in a press conference about Hungary, asking if there's anywhere to overtake. And they go, yeah, the pit lane. Bit of shade there from Mr. Piastri. And then for the last section, little bit, I guess, let's focus on some of the iconic parts from the team's history. So I'll start with, why am I spinning my... The Marlboro sponsor, the red and white livery. Like, you just knew that was McLaren. Like, that was their identity back in the 70s, 80s, 90s. Yeah, back then. Definitely the 80s. Like, if you ask any older person, like a generation above mine, and you talk about like that Marlboro, but yeah, McLaren Formula 1 team, like they sponsored that. Or you talk about McLaren Formula 1 and they go, yeah, the team that's sponsored by Marlboro. So it was very iconic until the sponsorship got banned. And then on the opposite end of that spectrum, now the papaya, like I see that colour in public and I'm like, oh, it's McLaren colour. Like I just see someone wearing it and like you can literally just see the tiny bit of orange at the corner of your eye, like the papaya, and you're like, that guy's got Formula 1 merch on. That guy's a McLaren fan. So their liveries, like the colours of their liveries have been always iconic. Their first win in Spa in 1968, where Bruce McLaren won for them, which I guess it was like the first time a driver that was racing for their own team won. Pretty sure. It's either that, it was just a little bit before when he got podium. But anyway, like, it's winning in Spa, just one of the best tracks in the world. Actually, one of the best tracks. Just when it's iconic track, iconic driver, iconic car. Jenson Button's 2011 Canada win, the 4-hour race where he dropped to 20th. It was like, oh my god, 20th to first. However, god, many pit stops, the rain, everything, the 4-hour long race. And then Jenson Button won, which nobody expected to happen. Like, I don't think anyone was sat there going, oh, Jenson Button in 20th, I think he's going to win. In 2011, I don't think anyone was saying that. It was Max Verstappen in 2023, then you probably would have gone, yeah, Max is going to win. Jenson Button in 2011, we weren't saying it. But yeah. There is a little insight into McLaren Formula 1 team, or McLaren MasterCard now. Or MasterCard McLaren. Flip it around. Oh god, like all I'm going to be hearing all year. Anyway, I will see you next week with the next episode, which I think is just me still, and then maybe an interview soon. I guess it's my time to go.